When a company that has operated for more than a century suddenly goes under, it raises an important question that echoes far beyond the boardroom. What happens to the farms, the workers, and the entire food supply chain that depended on it for generations? In July of 2025, Monte Foods filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. This was not simply another corporate failure or a headline in the financial news. It marked the beginning of a systemic crisis that is now threatening California's entire fruit production infrastructure. The company had been processing fruits for 139 years, and its sudden exit removed essential capacity that growers across multiple states had relied upon. To understand why this matters so deeply, we need to look at what Del Monte actually represented in the Pacific Northwest. Del Monte operated massive canning facilities that processed pears and other stone fruits grown in California, Washington, and Oregon. When those operations shut down, 2/3 of the total pear canning capacity in the region disappeared overnight. For farmers who had signed binding contracts to sell their harvest to Del Monte, this created an immediate, catastrophic problem. They had crops ready to pick, but absolutely nowhere to send them. Today, California depends on just 3 companies that pack fresh pears, and only 2 facilities capable of large-scale canning. This represents an extreme concentration of power and capacity. When one facility experiences even a minor disruption, whether it's equipment trouble or labor shortages, there are virtually no alternatives left. The system has lost its flexibility, and any additional disruption could now cascade quickly through the entire market. The financial impact on growers has been nothing short of severe. Many farmers operate using seasonal loans from banks, and these loans are strictly tied to purchase contracts with processors like Del Monte. The logic is straightforward. If a farmer has a guaranteed buyer, the bank will lend money to cover costs until harvest. But when Del Monte filed for bankruptcy, those contracts became worthless paper. Banks immediately stopped providing loans, leaving farmers unable to pay their workers, maintain their orchards, or complete the harvest. Pears require meticulous attention. They must be hand-pruned, thinned, and picked at the exact right moment. If this work is delayed or skipped because of a lack of financing, the trees suffer lasting damage, and future yields decline for years to come. Without financing, many growers faced an impossible choice: harvest at a total loss or leave the fruit to rot on the trees. The timing made the situation even worse. Washington and Oregon had just completed a strong growing season, with pear production up 60% compared to the previous year. Under normal circumstances, this would have been a cause for celebration. But with Del Monte gone, the market was suddenly flooded with fruit, and no one to process it. Prices dropped sharply, and in many cases, the cost of harvesting exceeded what the fruit could actually sell for. Even federal intervention had its limits. The Department of Agriculture authorized $20 million in emergency purchases through Section 32 programs to help absorb the surplus. But this was a Band-Aid on a deep wound. The processing capacity was still gone, the contracts were still void, and the financing remained unavailable for the average grower. So, how did a 139-year-old giant like Del Monte reach this breaking point? The roots of this bankruptcy trace back to 2014, when the company was acquired by Del Monte Pacific for $1.2 billion. That purchase was financed largely through heavy debt, creating a financial structure that left no room for error. Over the following decade, rising interest rates increased the cost of servicing that massive debt. By 2025, the company was spending more on interest payments than it was earning from its actual operations. At the same time, consumer habits were shifting. Demand for canned fruit has been declining as shoppers increasingly prefer fresh produce or store-brand alternatives. Then, in mid-2025, an external shock delivered the final blow. A 50% tariff on imported steel sharply raised the cost of producing metal cans. This cost increase arrived just weeks before the bankruptcy filing, pushing the company's tight margins into unsustainable territory. Once the bankruptcy was filed, control shifted to creditors and investment firms like Davidson Kempner and Silver Point Capital. Their focus, naturally, is on financial recovery and debt collection, not on maintaining the delicate balance required to keep farms and processing plants running smoothly. This transition has highlighted a broader tension in American agriculture. In corporate bankruptcies, creditor interests often take precedence over operational stability. The vulnerability exposed here is not limited to one company. California's pear industry has been shrinking for years. In the year 2000, California had more than 10,000 acres of pear orchards. By 2024, that acreage had fallen to just 4,500, a reduction of more than 50% in just over 2 decades. This decline reflects immense economic pressures, changing preferences, and competition from other regions. When a major player fails in such a concentrated market, the effects ripple outward. Seasonal workers face layoffs. Water, fertilizer, and labor invested in the crops are wasted when fruit is left in the orchards. Retailers lose confidence in California as a reliable source, and the state's agricultural reputation, built over generations, is put at risk. This fragility is not unique to pears. Peaches, apples, and stone fruits face the exact same structural challenges and financing models. What can be done to rebuild resilience? We must diversify processing capacity. Supporting regional facilities and smaller processors can reduce our dangerous dependence on a few dominant players. Financial safeguards for growers, such as emergency credit facilities and policy mechanisms that protect operating loans during market shocks, are equally critical. Del Monte's collapse has revealed just how fragile our food supply infrastructure has become. The consequences extend far beyond the farm. They affect entire regional economies and national food security. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, do you think California's agricultural system can recover from this level of concentration? Or are we witnessing a permanent restructuring of how we grow and process our food? I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Andrew K. Wallace. If you found this deep dive analysis helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more coverage on the forces shaping our economy. The path forward requires coordination between growers, financial institutions, and policymakers to build the resilience we so desperately need. Thank you for watching.